Greetings, everyone. Hey, how you doing? It's Matt Sella here. And today, we're going to be doing podcast number 2 of my series of podcasts. Hooray, everybody. Hooray! I am your host, Matt Sella, the guy who runs this channel, who posts animation, gives opinions, and all that good stuff. And I'm joined here again with a very good friend of mine, Marc.
You just can't be rid of me.
I cannot, because you're too entertaining to discuss with.
Oh, I was just that and I, took a crowbar to the door over there. I'm really sorry about that.
I know, you came in saying like, Matt, Spaceballs is not that funny. I was like, what are you talking about?
And one thing led to another. There was maybe a car chase. It's boring stuff, really. But and now we're here.
Yeah, we're here, and we're going to be talking about a whole plethora of some cool topics. So in case for those who want to check out the timestamp, we're going to be talking about the Godzilla King of the Monsters trailer 3, a bit of the kaiju stuff, and we're going to be talking about the Disney Plus streaming service presented by Marc here. He's got some words about it.
Words.
And then I figured it'd be kind of cool to go over a couple of Cartoon Brews articles talking about how KLAUS, a 2D animated movie that's being sponsored by Netflix, they're gonna
are they pronouncing it KLAUS or is it KLAUS?
It might be KLAUS. I'm not too sure. I don't think the teaser said
it doesn't in the trailer. No,
I'm okay either way.
Okay,
whichever way it is,
because I've been reading it as KLAUS.
It could be KLAUS. I just know it's the origin of Santa Claus.
Yeah,
that's all I know. Yeah, it's going to be pushed for an Oscar nom. And we also want to briefly talk about how the animators who were disputing over Sausage Party game paid overtime, which they were not being paid overtime, finally settled in their favor. So that's good news. And then originally I didn't really have much game news to talk about, but then I realized the Epic Store is doing well. Huh, that's interesting. We should talk about that. And we're also going to be talking about what you doing in regards of watching, playing, just some casual things just to get to know us a little bit better. And so that's all your timestamps. Check out the description below for more specific things. Otherwise, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I have no idea how that works, but it's on Spotify. So we hope you enjoy a good listening. So to get things started, and as a quick plug-in, I've been trying to work actively on my Patreon. I actually recently finished a drawing. It was a poll. Want to do some video game girls, just because I like drawing them female characters sometimes.
Those leading ladies.
Yes. I believe the poll choices were Twilight, Midna, Marina from Splatoon 2, Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, and Kat from the critically acclaimed Gravity Rush.
A wide range.
And I say that a little sarcastically because I don't think the game did well, even though I really enjoyed those games. At least the first one I did. And Twilight Midna won. So I started sketching her out. Took a freaking long time because I'm also doing an animation, which is very close to being done.
Yeah, look for that soon.
And so just to present it on the podcast here, in case you're wondering what that came out to look like, it looked like this. And what's interesting about it is it took some time to get all this done. And I'm pulling up on the screen here so Marc can kind of see it. Originally I sketched it out. I was trying to do like new things to like make it more thick line, but it didn't look quite right to me because I'm still playing around with like different brushes because I'm usually used to doing the Toon Shader style, not so much the painterly thing. And in the podcast right now, you should see both the actual image and the experimental image next to each other. I'm just showing Marc the experimental right now. This was originally what I was going for. I know it's kind of hard to tell at this resolution, but it's like very thick, brushy lines, semi-transparent. And what's funny is like, I don't know how well I can show this on YouTube or not, but I was playing around with the black skin part of her body because like the Twilight people are really weird. If you remember the lore, I know.
Well, I don't know that if the Twilight people necessarily appreciate that assessment, Matt.
Right, but. She's supposed to kind of have like this vest thing here, but it's supposed to be imbued in her skin.
It's a pattern of sorts.
Yeah, pretty much. And I brought the crease up along her chest a little bit. And when I did that, I was like, this came out a little bit more sexy than I intended. So when I did the final version, which obviously you can see, it's more accurate to the actual design itself, where it's like the black just kind of covers her entire breast.
Yeah, the character model.
And leaves like the sternum blue as her skin is.
Yeah.
So overall, I really liked how it came out. It's funny too. It's like in the original sketch, I thought her head was too big, so I shrunk it. Mm-hmm. And when I finally finished, I was like, her head still looks a little big. So I don't know, but that's the latest art that I've done, and it's on my Patreon now. You could check it out, and if you like it, I got a new poll in the works actually.
What are our options?
Because it's funny too. I was listening to like some Legend of Zelda music on this. I thought, I've drawn a couple of girl characters already. Let's put some guys in there too. What if I draw like one of the Links from the various video games? Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to do that. Right now, my current choices, I believe, I'm going to put up is Ocarina of Time Link, Majora's Mask Young Link with Fierce Deity in the background, Wind Waker Link, and Twilight Princess Link.
I can't help but notice you blatantly left out the best Link.
Oh, what's that?
That would be, your Link's Awakening, your Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, the good Zelda games.
Like the Philips CDI ones? Like that Link? You want me to put that on the poll?
Matt, I understand this is your podcast.
My boy.
But I'm going to need you to leave.
The dawn goes.
Get out. Get out. Get out of the studio right now.
What's actually kind of funny is I actually was going to put Link Between Worlds Link on there.
Yeah.
Because I actually really like that one. And I know technically it's the same as the Link to the Past one.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is similar to the Oracle Seasons ones, right?
Yeah, there's similarities, yes.
Which is kind of funny too, because it wasn't so much of an argument, but it's kind of like my perspective on it. It's like I've kind of grown to like that style of Link.
Which one?
The Oracle Seasons / Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
Because since Smash Ultimate came out with that Zelda one, technically from that one, it's supposed to be based off of an anime stylistic design, sure. But the way they modeled Zelda in the Smash game and how she kind of moves, she strikes me more as a Glenn Keane style character. And I'm starting to see that more in the Link Between Worlds style.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, oracles and all that, that's straight up like anime inspired, but it still kind of has that contours. But anyway, the point is, I think those are the 4 I'm going to go with. And I think I'm going to approach it slightly differently. I'm going to make thumbnail sketches of what each of those Link drawings could be. And once I post it to my Patreon, people will be able to look at that and say like, okay, I want this one, or that one. So
get out there and vote.
That's my goal. Well, I got to finish the sketches first. I only finished 2 of them. I got to make the other 2. But super busy getting that animation done, Mike.
Yep.
And thank you again, Marc, for joining me and indulging me on this.
Thank you for not making me pay for that door.
No problem, buddy. Did you have any thoughts on Midna here, or you still think she looks scary?
Midna is a very intimidating character.
Because I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I think once we talked about Midna and you're like, I don't know, she's kind of weird. Weren't you kind of in that camp?
No, I wasn't in that camp. I was actually just in the camp of for one reason or another, between all the consoles that came out on the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U. I'm surprised it's not on Switch. Is it on Switch?
No.
Give it time. I never played Twilight Princess fully. So I think for me, it's just I don't have as much of an attachment to that character as I do some of the other Zelda characters.
That's right. I thought it was just because like she's a Twilight blue weird lady and you're like, oh, that's too exotic for my taste.
Nah.
Again, I'm not.
I've watched anime.
Everyone's got their tastes. Just saying. But that's an argument. See, I have a friend of mine who I really want to bring on this podcast and have a debate with him over Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, because we both have very different perspectives when it comes to those games, and be kind of fun to like talk about that, flesh that out, and see if like anyone in the comment section wants to like add to his argument or my argument or whatever. It's like I want to see what other people think about these things.
Other people are hyped about Link's Awakening getting a remake for the Switch.
I actually think that's really cute.
Darn right.
Like I saw a trailer, I was like, I love this. This reminds me of like a European toy line.
It kind of does.
But you play as it. I was like, this is great. I want to see this. But I don't want to get too off topic here. So that's what's going on in my art world. Animation's coming along pretty well. I'm actually super excited for that. Just got a couple more scenes to polish. Then I got to submit it. And then hopefully within a month, you will see it on the YouTubes.
On the tube of you.
Yes, sir. So, without further ado, let's get into our first topic here. Oh, wow. It's only been 10 minutes.
No, it's a pretty big topic.
It is a big topic here. I hope you're excited about this, Marc, as much as I am, or at least a fraction of it. The Godzilla King of the Monsters Trailer 3 dropped a few days ago. And oh my God.
The Lizard of Oz.
Oh my God. I am so effing hyped for this, dude.
I'm very excited for the movie as well. I think you are a bigger kaiju fan than I am.
No arguments there.
Okay then.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm a loser when it comes to kaiju films. I'm like, give it to me.
I love kaiju films too. I mainly know it by way of Godzilla, though, as someone who actually had, I think I still do, all of, if not most of the original run of Godzilla from the first one up to Final Wars.
Nice.
And I think what really captures my imagination about these trailers is, in like any other monster or giant monster movie, like even thinking back to the most recent one, which would technically, I guess, be like Rampage.
Yes.
Though at least that's not like in this monster verse.
No. That's
you see a lot of those trailers. It's a very high action, intense destruction. And it's not that these trailers don't have high action or are not intense or don't show the destruction of these creatures. But the music choice they have to accompany it, these creatures, it presents them not in a more like you're in awe of the power and the size of these creatures. There's a majestic quality to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most, what's like for me, especially with this one, Over the Rainbow, an interesting choice. I think I'd love to have actually this version of Over the Rainbow just on its own as like an MP3 to listen to.
Yeah.
But like very interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting too because of a couple of the kaiju related YouTubers I watched Omniviewer's take on it too, and he pretty much said the same exact things that you said, where like it gives a sense of wonder and all that. Whereas like if you look at like Jurassic Park or like a few other examples he brought up, is they didn't show so much that the monsters are threats or dangerous per se, but they should strike you in awe and wonder. And they're kind of like passing that along a little bit with this trailer. I actually got a slightly different take on it, but I 100% agree with you. To me, it just kind of showed me that, oh, don't worry, we're not going to take this movie too damn seriously. It's going to have fun. It's going to have action and all that stuff. And that's kind of what I got, which is kind of weird for me to say that because most people are like, I don't like it when films are too cheesy or campy. And like, I don't know. It's like when it comes to kaiju films, it's like when it gets a little too serious for me, then I'm like, okay.
Now, we're not saying we need, Godzilla to do a little victory dance. Like,
do the where.
Let's be aware.
Thing.
Kaiju films, particularly Godzilla in particular, they have gone very, very, very serious. Okay. They've gone ridiculously cheesy.
Yes. Just look at the Showa and the Heisei list.
Somewhere in the middle is Showa. Where I think you do find a lot of people find the common ground of a little cheese, a little serious, make it a fun spectacle.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to talk about this trailer with you about is it's kind of interesting too, because I've watched all trailers related to King of the Monsters movie coming out. And I remember when I think I was watching On the Viewer's take on it, and he mentioned something that did cross my mind. It's like, maybe are we being shown a little too much of the movie? And I thought that was an interesting talking point because I don't mind seeing as much as I can with this movie because I know essentially what I want, and that's just big kaiju fights happening and just epic CG moments.
You're genre savvy. There's really not too much they could do that probably for someone like you who was, again, like you've seen the Gamera, you've seen the works.
Yeah.
There's probably not much they could do that would, like, you would honestly go, that actually caught me off guard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they do catch me off guard, great.
No, more power to them, and quite honestly, impressive.
Yeah. But what's interesting in contrast to that with King of the Monsters, I don't want to see anything regarding Avengers Endgame. I saw the first trailer for it when it was first dropped and announced, and I said, I'm good. I'm ready to see this. I don't want to see any more. I like the sense of mystery. I like the sense that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Because Infinity War, we kind of got hints of what will happen and what did happen.
But no one can really say for certain at this point.
Not at this point with Endgame. And that's why I've been avoiding trailer 2s and TV spots.
And predictions.
And I remember there was an article came out. I don't have the article on me. But in an interview with the Russo brothers,
yes,
I think they said that a lot of scenes in the trailers are misleading and not actually in the movie or not actually shown that way.
Yeah.
So Too Long Didn't Read. the trailer's technically lying to you, and I'm really happy about that because I don't want that over my head when I'm watching Endgame. Mm-hmm. I want to go in as fresh as possible just to see what happens.
Well, lying might be a bit of a strong word, but I do think it's
a clickbaity.
It's very much a clickbaity line. But I think it's just, what you're seeing. What it is, especially in this day and age where you got people on the internet who will make, reviews that's like frame by frame.
Oh,
they comb over with a fine tooth comb, and that can be really cool. It can also be really kind of a bit of a buzzkill for some people.
I think it is.
And I think like for Endgame, there were some misdirects there, like how many Infinity Stones Thanos had when he was fighting Thor or Captain America, I believe.
Yeah.
Whether that Hulk was there as opposed to Hulkbuster armor,
Yeah.
Some of it is simple stuff that's just, and so long as it's not blatant false advertising, which they haven't done yet. And I trust the Russo brothers to not do such a thing. And especially
not do the Bridge of Terabithia.
No, not to Bridge of Terabithia. If you want to talk about a trailer that sold you something that you didn't quite get, ladies and gentlemen, there's your ticket. I like that. By contrast, the Endgame trailer with what and I've even seen a little more than you, but like, we just don't know anything, but also like you and like, I don't know, really barring maybe some key stuff with the human characters who sadly in the tradition of kaiju films really aren't that important because none of them really carry on to the other movies. They're kind of really one-offs.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I think I've had this conversation with you before, and I don't think I've let people know on the channel who have followed me much. I was a big fan of Godzilla 2014. I get the complaints that people thought the human characters were boring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for me personally, when I watch movies, I have a tendency to fill in the blanks a lot. Mm-hmm. So like if the character's not emoting enough or saying enough, usually I can abridge like, okay, these are possible origins of why this character behaves this way or is doing this. I can do that quite easily. It's not too bad. But at the same time, I've watched a lot of the Showa and Heisei movies and Godzilla and all that.
Yeah.
And for the most part, human characters don't really become reoccurring in new installments or reboots or whatever. It's like what you said. They're usually one-off type characters. And when Kong Skull Island came out, they had a few like well-named actors playing like some quirky characters. There was no real development to them, but we did have more focus on them. Mm-hmm. I was okay with that too, because again, I fill in the blanks. I'm like, okay, Connor is this character. Brie Larson's character is this. Samuel Jackson, he's a traumatized PTSD veteran.
He becomes more of a Captain Ahab in some
ways. And so like I can fill in those blanks and say like, okay, those tools are enough for me to appreciate that Kong is trying to kill the skull crawlers or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Godzilla King of the Monsters, they have the 11 girl, I forget her name.
From Stranger Things, yeah.
Yeah, Stranger Things. Was it Colin Firth in this? Or am I getting it mixed up with someone else?
Colin Firth. He's in something else too. I don't want to quote myself on that.
Because I know he was in the Dumbo movie.
You might be thinking of the Dumbo movie because we did just get through talking about
Dumbo. But the actor looks the same. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, they have some well-known actors and actresses in this movie, which is cool. But at the same time, it's like I'm probably not going to get invested with them anyway because it's not about them. It's about Godzilla and the other monsters duking it out.
Yeah.
The only character who I really kind of care about is Ken Watanabe returning as Shirazawa.
Yes.
Who is technically the Nick Fury of these kaiju films. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where I stand. Like, if it goes either way, more power to them. Mm-hmm. If they make great character development and all that stuff, awesome. If they don't, whatever, I'll live. As long as the action is great and it's fun and epic. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I actually did want to get your quick opinion on this. Yeah, do you think some of the imagery might be a little too much on the nose? Because there was this one shot that kind of made me lull a little bit.
Which shot was that?
It was when Ghidorah was coming out from the volcano and he was on the peak of it. And we were getting the perspective from the town nearby. And next to Ghidorah was like a close-up shot of the cross. And I remember in the Monarch files, not only did they call Ghidorah Monster Zero, a reference to his original movie, but they also gave him a sub-name saying the devil with 3 heads.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if
maybe that's a little on the nose. I actually took that as, if you wanted to get into my conspiracy theory,
Yeah, go for it.
I
man.
actually took that as the aftermath of his aerial fight with Rodan. And that, quite honestly, underneath him, you probably maybe like Rodan's been pinned down under there, and the symbolism of, Rodan having risen up from the volcano in homage to his debut film, of course.
Yeah.
Like then to have him slain and underneath Ghidorah on top of the mountain, it's like I thought that was the symbolism I was thinking. But I don't know if that Rodan is under there or not or anything, but it's just like,
well, it looks like the same volcano that came out from
that's what I'm saying, because like I don't see why Rodan would be coming out of the volcano and why Ghidorah would be coming out of the volcano when Ghidorah is clearly frozen.
Yeah. No, you might be right. Maybe like they had a scuffle, like maybe that's one of the first fights we'll see. I'm only speculating here. I don't know.
Like if I were to really make a guess, maybe there's something where in that region or something, Rodan was at one point maybe sort of like Mothra, seen as a protector or a deity of sort.
Yeah.
In which case, for me, then, if we then even piggybacked off your thing with the cross, Ghidorah being the devil, and in that image, maybe, I'm not saying he, quote unquote, that's going to be the end of Rodan, but it's like he slayed God.
Yeah. He slayed Michael or something.
Yeah, like I think that could be the imagery there. But
yeah,
I
there
think,
you go.
I think I've both agreed with you, but also added, I don't know.
Yeah, you added your own thing. It's like, well, let's be more plausible about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think that's really cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited for it. It's not too far away.
No, there's a lot of, April in particular, we're getting a lot of good stuff.
No, we are. And I think that's the final trailer, technically, even though it was technically a TV spot.
I believe it is, yes.
So, yeah, because
although who knows, they always somehow have some. Well, it's never the final trailer, because then after all that, once it comes out, you have, especially if it does well, the accolades trailer where it's like critics and audiences agree.
Oh yeah.
Vanity Fair says,
let's make a line of Godzilla close. I don't even know what Vanity Fair is. What the hell am I saying? Kind of piggybacking off of this, I recently brought to Marc's attention. I was looking up the trailers for Godzilla, and there was this one animator. I wish I had his name, but his name will be in the description below. He made a very funny parody animation of Godzilla and monster movies that were never made.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, hang on. So I'm not going to pull it up on this podcast, obviously, but it's called The Island of Unmade Godzilla Movies, a fan parody animation.
Pretty funny.
And you saw it.
Yes.
Because I sent it to you. I was like, dude, you gotta check this out, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's simplistic. It's like, I'm not trying to like shadow anything like that, but I just love the amount of attention that went into this.
Yeah, it's a very well written bit of humor, especially if you are someone who is savvy to the kaiju genre.
And it has kind of a bit of that Looney Tunes kind of early 90s like wackiness to it as well, with the aesthetics. And I think what mostly spoke to me on it was like just all the references it made to the Godzilla lore itself.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because I have an old coworker friend who is a much bigger kaiju fan than me. I mean, he's all old school. He loves all that original stuff. And the parody is supposed to talk about unmade Godzilla movies, like concepts and shit that never left the ground.
Right.
And I'm quite curious to see like how accurate are some of these designs and monsters. And I would love to get his take on that.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's actually quite a few books and stuff where a lot of unused kaiju kind of have, had their designs accessible to the public through that. It's very interesting.
Yeah. But as a quick premise of what it's supposed to be about, I guess Godzilla, the 2014 version, which I thought was great, is swimming around while Anguirus and Rodan are on his back, just kind of like cruising. They bump into this island and they're like, oh, what the hell is this? And Godzilla's just being a derp going like, should we destroy this? Where the hell is it? And then Rodan meets his relative, which he quickly disowns, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And they learn this Rodan-like character says to the actual Rodan, oh yeah, this is the place where Toho Studios comes up with concepts with filmmakers, but never reach the light of ground. They're kind of like franchise killers type ideas like that. Mm-hmm. And some of us, we try to leave, but there's like some external force preventing us from leaving. And it's like Toho in the sky or something. Or like the first time you see it is like Columbus Pictures or something.
Yeah.
It's like, that is hilarious. And so like Godzilla's like, no, you shall all be free. I'm going to destroy this island. It just unravels into some silliness, and it's got cool commentary. I will say this much. I think this is why I like it so much. Like, there actually is some cool commentary about it, saying like, well, this is what happens when you have industrialized creativity. Not everything you can do should be budgeted or made into something because it's at risk of like killing franchises or oversaturating things.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and I think you can get into a really cool discussion about that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's why I also appreciate that. And just some of the humor. There is some adult humor in there. I will warn that much. A little bit of that. And again, I'm like curious about these creatures, and I was like, Robo wife? And I was like, what the hell is that? And I'm kind of hoping that's made up, but something tells me that might actually be real.
Who knows?
That may have been a real idea.
Well, it is an idea.
Oh. But just want to give a quick shout out to there. It's in the description below on the YouTube. Please check it out. I think it's funny. And yeah, that's pretty much that in regards to that. So that will do it for some of our kaiju talk right now. I mean, I can't really think of anything else to talk about regarding Godzilla at this moment.
No, you're just excited to see it.
There is one thing I will quickly mention. I don't know if you have a quick thought on this, but I remember, again, with OmniViewer, he was kind of reporting, I think Tommy H also mentioned it. I'm not too sure. We finally got word from the guy behind Legendary Pictures regarding the kaiju films, asking, is there any future beyond?
That was the biggest non-statement I ever heard.
That is what I thought. And props to OmniViewer. I love the guy. I love his reporting. I always stick to him. But honestly, that report meant nothing to me.
No.
Because all the guy said, like, well, if Godzilla King of the Monsters does well, and so does Kong Skull Island, there might be a future. Or there might not be. It's like, that's almost every film franchise starting out.
Yeah, that's not a statement. That's the film bit. That's movie. That's the movie business.
That's like, it's like one thing with like Kevin Feige and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like, they already established themselves. We already know there's a connective tissue going on. We've had plenty of films to do that. If one film doesn't do well enough, okay, it doesn't do well enough. There's still a future. So, like, if they made a comment like that saying, like, well, there might be a future if or if not this movie does well. It's like, but you had 10 other blockbuster successes.
Yeah, well, my whole thing is, too, especially just because of it was really not a non-commit. It was business speak, make no mistake. For me, everything I've heard kind of coming out of the Toho camp was kind of like they're ready for the deal to be done with so they can go back to making Godzilla movies themselves after seeing kind of, I think, the success of the MonsterVerse. Yeah,
and again, it kind of goes back to that parody animation. It kind of covers that a little bit too, where I guess at the end Toho was like, well, I guess we should start making our own movies or not. I don't know. And it's just like the indecisiveness that they are. And again, I kind of agree with like some of these kaiju YouTubers where it's like Toho doesn't know what's doing with these properties. And maybe they're feeling a little butthurt that Legendary actually seems to be making a dent with them.
Maybe because we do forget, you know, taking out the character of Zilla and that whole movie aside, Godzilla movies, even in Japan for a while, like Final Wars, it was supposed to be, you know, the big final thing. And, you know, I think it coincided with Godzilla's 50th, if I'm not mistaken, or one of his anniversaries.
Yeah.
It's one of the big movies. It's got like everybody's in it. From what I remember correctly financially, it did not do well. And it was enough that they even destroyed on the Toho lot the big underwater tank that they had used pretty much, I think, since like the original one for all the Godzilla aquatic shots.
Yeah.
Like they destroyed that. Like people forget Toho was done with Godzilla. They had put him to bed.
No, they did. And it's tough. And I think they're feeling a little bit sour that there's a bit of a resurgence happening and it's not quite under their creative control.
And also, like Shin Godzilla was well received and financial, especially in Japan.
Yeah.
But they kind of made that, and it was kind of, I'm not quite sure how the contract worked, but that then eventually wound up with us having the anime trilogy because they could do animation. They just couldn't do live action according to the contracts. It was a little muddy on that.
Yeah.
But then in turn, the anime trilogy was not received very well at all.
No, and I remember watching the first one on Netflix, and after that, I was like, this is just all in the same kind of story and kind of boring. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, should I watch the second one? Watched OmniView and a few other people talk about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to skip this. Third one happened. I'm glad I skipped this.
So yeah, like until I'm sure Legendary would love to, and Warner Brothers by extension, I believe, would love making Godzilla movies as long as they make money until the cows come home. I'm not putting my money on anything for anything in the future after this deal is up until I hear it from Toho.
Yeah.
That's like saying, that'd be like if, well, I don't know. That's just my stance on it.
No, that's totally fair. And like I said, this was a nutty statement, though I do hope King of the Monsters does well. And I hope Godzilla vs. Kong does well, because I'm really looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. And if they're able to extend their contract or continue something, I know this is not a Toho technically character, but I'm really hoping if this Kaiju cinematic universe works, the Monsterverse works, I'm hoping they're able to acquire the rights for Gamera and do like a 3-way battle or something with Kong and Godzilla with Gamera in there, because Gamera needs some love.
Yeah, because I know it's kind of become a bit of a dirty word around here, especially the word cinematic universe, just because a lot of people are very tired of it, especially because a lot of studios have kind of rushed into it without taking into account the building blocks and how it's a slow process to get to that point.
Yeah.
Like I know like Shonen Jump, they're looking to doing their own universe.
Oh, really?
I think even Toho has said they want to do as much with Godzilla at one point. So whether or not that's with Legendary or not, I don't know. Again, I think the future of the Godzilla Toho Monsterverse, Legendary Monsterverse, rests way more on Toho's shoulders than it does Legendary's, in my opinion.
No, that's very true, because it really comes down to what will Toho allow.
Yeah.
And based off like some of the people they've been bringing on to help shape whatever the hell they're trying to do, it doesn't sound like they want to play with others, especially internationally.
I can't speak to that particularly, but like just from what I've heard.
Because some of the reports I heard, I mean, like part of the other reason why I'm not saying that just to be like controversial. I think it's also a fact that they're trying to keep the money within their economy and trying to like work abroad and things like that. There's more like tape to go through. And they're like, shit, we probably might be making more money if we just like self-finance through our own creative means. Things like, I don't know. That's a whole other conversation to get into, but we've been on this for a while. Let us know in the comments section below, definitely. Like, what are some of your thoughts on things we talked about? If you want me or Mark to expand upon some of our arguments, I mean, I could talk about Godzilla stuff all day. But we got to move on. Because, my God, Mark, we have something that you wanted to talk about. You mind throwing us in there?
Yeah. For those of you know, particularly, I believe, April 11th, I'm not sure if it's a shareholder meeting or an investment call or whatever, but we're apparently expecting big news and development from Disney, particularly on their new streaming service, Disney Plus.
Wow.
And at this point, I think it's officially safe to say the streaming wars have really started.
Oh my! Oh no, they have.
They've really started.
They will start.
And for me, we've now had confirmation that eventually every Disney movie is going to be on there, whether it's from the vault or whatever. Marvel, Lucasfilm, depending on where certain rights lie, because that then even still is tricky. Lucasfilm got a little easier with them acquiring Fox.
Yep, that officially went through.
And that's going to shape a lot of this too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw even Titan AE on Disney Plus, maybe even Anastasia.
Yeah, some of the Don Bluth films.
Because I found actually I think Fox actually got the rights from Warner Brothers for, and sadly they're not necessarily the good ones, for some of the Don Bluth films such as Thumbelina, and the Penguin.
I forgot.
And Fox. Troll and Central Park. So I mean, that's content that'll be there too, plus anything else from Fox's.
I bet Don Bluth's happy about that.
I'm sure he has some words to say about that one. But my point would be, Matt, what are you excited for Disney Plus, especially with just everything that now's been acquired by what even qualifies as Disney now? It's certainly a bigger branch than it was, I think, when we were growing up in the 90s.
Our overlords, the mouse. Ha, ha.
But what are you looking forward to? And like, are you interested in the original exclusive content, such as Jon Favreau's Mandalorian series or any of the Marvel series out coming out, like Vision and
Loki?
The Vision, Scarlet Witch, and the Loki.
Right. I forgot Vision was having one too. To be completely transparent to you folks, I'm actually not a big Star Wars fan to begin with. I enjoyed the original trilogy when I was a kid. Didn't see them in theaters.
Worth saying. Technically, because of a pre-existing thing, the first 6 Star Wars movies, at least from what I've heard so far, won't be on there right away. Because I think it's like either Starz or HBO has the streaming license for them until like 2022, I think.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah. I think that was one of those deals made before people really, it was one of those things where it's like, we didn't really know what streaming was at the time when the deal was made.
It's kind of like the Hulk and the Universal thing.
It's kind of is like there's still, even right now, there's still a lot of contracts at play that are still being honored and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But like, you're not the biggest Star Wars fan.
No, I'm not. I don't take it super seriously. I like them for what they are. I like the original trilogy but I saw those on VHS. I did not see them in theaters. I'm not that old. I saw all the prequels in theaters and I thought they were okay and entertaining for the time. I can see why people hate them. Force Awakens, I thought was a fine movie. Was a kind of a story remake of A New Hope, but it was just to prove to people, hey, we know how to make a Star Wars movie. Don't worry about it. Here's a little taste of the old school. And The Last Jedi, I thought was fine. I'm not in the hater camp. Didn't love it, but for the kind of theme I was going for, I enjoyed it enough. But I think it was roughly around that time with The Last Jedi coming out, with all the fans being so divisive about it, slandering you for either liking it or not liking it. It just turned me off on the franchise altogether. I honestly don't care.
No, I can't. Based off how it kind of got, I can't blame you.
And it's just every time I see Star Wars now, all I could think about is the toxicity, if that's even a word, for how people are taking this, like whether they're taking it super seriously or not seriously at all.
But see, now people are going to yell at you for saying that there's toxicity.
There's toxic.
How dare you say there's toxicity? We totally always agree.
There's toxic and arsenic. What the? No, but I mean, like, you love what you love. I love what I love. Like when kaiju films, I'm all down for those. But honestly, with the way things like Kathleen Kennedy has been running, like I was really looking forward to a Phil Lord, Chris Miller Solo movie, even though I couldn't care less about Solo's origin. Phil Lord, Chris Miller, those guys are hilarious. I love the movies that they've done. I want to see their take. It was too much like Ace Ventura. Let's fire them and bring on someone else to kind of help clean up their mess. And then I saw Solo and I was like, this is boring. I didn't really care for it much. And I really feel like they're kind of in shambles. But it's Favreau.
For The Mandalorian.
For The Mandalorian.
On the Disney Plus side, yes.
And I believe Taika Waititi and Bryce Dallas Howard, Favreau's daughter, I think. I didn't know that.
Is she?
I believe she is. That's how she was able to get the deal or something. But either way.
That's a trip for me if that's true.
Bryce Dallas Howard, she's directing an episode. I know Taika Waititi is. Jon Favreau, I think,
I think Dave Filoni from the animated side of Star Wars is also directing an episode.
He is. So,
and a lot of people are very happy for that, especially with how he's done his work for the animated side of Star Wars.
I think The Mandalorians is going to be a great portfolio piece for many directors and whatnot to help further their careers. Am I excited about it? No. I don't care that much about it. And I'm in the camp of not really seeing the hype around Boba Fett or anything he does. Because I understand where he comes from and where
I believe Boba Fett's not the main character.
Well, I know, but it's kind of like following the ancestry of Boba Fett or something like that.
They've been kind of tight-lipped about it, so I don't know.
I don't know, but if it does involve him, that's kind of dampening my interest. But, I mean, if it's good, people like it. If you watch it and you say, it's actually pretty good, we should talk about it, then I'll watch it. But I'm honestly not that excited. And in regards to the other Disney stuff you talked about, I'm quite curious. They said every Disney movie?
I'm sure there will be some caveats. I'm going to stop you right there because I know where you're going with it.
Anything particularly from the South going to be in there?
I highly doubt we will be having a zippity-doo-dah time.
Oh, no.
But another thing worth noting is that Sony is apparently now also... They said they're going to be making an animated Spider-Man series.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
But the thing is, the animated rights to Spider-Man and TV show rights, Sony only has the movie rights.
Okay.
So for them to even make this movie, they would have to make this series. They'd have to have approval from Disney, who owns the animated rights and who has been making Spider-Man cartoons ever since they acquired Marvel on their networks.
Yeah.
And they said, the head of that said something very quiet, like, well, we're speaking to streaming service providers and stuff. And I would think if you have to be approved by Disney, and this is just speculation, to make the series to begin with.
Yeah.
I would imagine the big caveat for Disney's approval would be you're putting this on Disney Plus. Like, is that a stretch?
Honestly, I don't know. And I don't think so, because Netflix technically did that in the beginning, where they kind of like co-finance or co-produce some original content, and whatever they made back or what have you, however they distribute money, they split some of that between partnerships, I believe. So Disney could do that. They're in the position where they probably could afford to do that. So maybe.
Now, they haven't specified what it is, I believe, yet, but like, would you want a traditional Spider-Man animated series? Would you want it to be a continuation off the Spider-Verse, where like maybe we're not getting a Spider-Man noir movie, but we're getting a Spider-Man noir show? Maybe we're getting a Spider-Ham show. Maybe we're getting
like an anthology series.
Yeah. Would you be if that was the direction they're going? Would you be down for that?
I would prefer that, because I mean, like, I haven't seen the Amazing Spider-Man or the Ultimate Spider-Man, really any of those shows. But you showed me the short anime clip they did with Spider-Ham.
Yeah, I believe it was the like Blu-ray special.
Yeah, and it was part animated by Titmouse, who I love.
Phenomenal studio.
I want more of that.
Yeah.
And doesn't necessarily need to follow
Peter Porker. It could follow Penny or Noir Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen and just make an anthology series based off of that. I'd be on board. I'd love it if it's an anthology series. I would like it if it was honestly just, there's the Spider-Ham show. It's just straight up cartoon, Looney Tune, Ren and Stimpy craziness. The Spider-Man, the Spider-Noir show. It's a little more maybe mature. Yeah, but very dark, and still kind of funny because I mean he was voiced by Nicolas Cage,
and hopefully they can bring him back to do a couple more voices, back,
and maybe that's really fun. And then just for the what was her name? You just mentioned her,
Gwen Stacy, no, Penny.
Penny.
Yeah,
they just make it a full-on almost anime satire, almost or something.
Yeah,
because also one of the thing is for a lot of, especially for the European Union right now, in order to have the streaming service in there, they will have to have a certain amount of content made in that region.
Right.
So if other countries have that, I think it'd be really cool if just like, well, maybe if it's not even a parody, what if the Penny series is animated by
like a French studio?
Well, not even a French studio, but what if we just like, okay, she's already anime inspired. What if we just go like to Madhouse or Toei or somewhere in Japan and say, would you guys for your market, if Japan has a requirement for that, would you guys like to make the Penny Parker series for
That'd be
us?
really cool.
Like, I think that could be really cool.
Very good way to get inclusive in the animation network.
Yeah, like even if they did like I don't know, if they did like a Ratatouille show, like I'm sure Pixar would want to supervise it.
Yeah.
But what if they had it actually made at a French studio for that, I don't know, for that authenticity almost, if you will.
Yeah, you could bring a bit of your culture into the animation itself.
Like I think that could be really interesting, and using international laws really to spark creativity, maybe even.
Yeah, instead of like oppressing it, find ways to expand upon it. No, I totally agree.
Don't just be like, okay, we have to make some crappy show that's going to be disposable just to, get it in this market.
Yeah, instead of like doing quality over content, vice versa. It's like, no, you don't want to go down that route.
Yeah, so I think that could be interesting. But yeah, should be big news on April 11th in regards to Disney Plus. I think particularly for a lot of people, it's the price. A lot of reports are saying it will be cheaper than Netflix.
That's what I've heard for a while. Yeah, we'll get some confirmation.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's just a big update, especially as we are living in a post-Fox Disney acquisition.
Yeah, it's going to be real tricky because like I was originally going to make that a main topic, but there's just so much information around it, so much speculation.
Well, that's just it. There's so much information, but at the same time, there's so little information, really. Like the biggest thing we have coming out of this agreement so far is that a lot of people, unfortunately, just through redundancy, did lose their jobs. That's never a good thing, but that is to be expected with these kind of mergers, sadly.
Yeah.
And that Fox 2000 as a label will be closed down once it's done with its film slates. That's really the most definitive thing we have in terms of what's going to be affecting or what's been affected by what so far.
Yeah, and talking about layoffs, I mean, we already have more layoffs from like EA and I think Activision too. And from some fortunate things, like some of those layoffs from the game companies are not developers, but more like HR people and all that stuff. But even still, it's like,
no, you never want to see someone out on their ear like that,
no,
especially when wasn't their decisions that led to such a thing.
Yeah, and merging studios, in my personal experience, have never been a good thing. Two people working.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. Honestly, I am nervous about the whole. Like, they'll have content. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But how they delegate and allow creativity to flourish in this industry, it's really a coin toss up to this point. And there's some things that Disney's been doing that I don't agree with ethically or whatever. Maybe not like religiously ethical, but I question
creatively. You don't.
Yeah, creatively, I don't agree with them, and they're so big that it's like too big to fail. It's like, no, when you fail, it's gonna hurt everybody, not just you, and that's what makes me nervous. But we'll see. The Disney streaming service, I am partially looking forward to it. I don't know if I'll sign up for it right away because I'm kind of tight on money myself, but we'll see.
I think, just to end it off as someone who is looking forward to it, but I want it to, especially since if it's going to be the full Disney library, barring maybe a few obvious omissions that Disney has not been too keen to put out there. I want it to just be really just about everything, just so that like you can, because there's a lot of old films that people just don't watch.
Yeah.
And I really hope this would kind of make it so people do go back and watch the history of all these films.
For sure. No, yeah, definitely look at history and what got us to this point.
Yeah, I think it could be a very interesting time capsule almost of film history.
I think so too. And hopefully they'll have like the entire collection of some of those early Mickey Mouse cartoons as well. Maybe even like the Steamboat Willie stuff.
I think they could. I think you could pair that really nicely. Like, here's the classic Mickey. And then if you want to, then just right next to it, say, hey, you like classic Mickey. Here's the new Mickey Mouse shorts, which are hilarious.
Yeah. No, that'd be really cool.
And also watch Black Cauldron.
Oh, yes. Give Black Cauldron some love, folks. Yeah. Marc loves that shit. But yeah, no, we will see. April 15th?
April 11th, I believe, is the date. People are expecting a big announcement.
All right. So maybe once we get more information on it, might do a podcast mini on that. We'll see. We'll see, because I'm quite curious to see where the entertainment industry will go.
But Matt.
Yes.
Speaking of a streaming service, there's another streaming service doing something that you're interested in.
What a beautiful segue you just did there. Yes. For those who don't know, there was an animated movie that was in production, teased back in 2015, called KLAUS or KLAUS.
I'm reading it as KLAUS.
KLAUS. I originally said KLAUS, but I think you're actually right, Marc. It's an animated movie from one of the animation directors who previously worked on a couple of Disney films. I believe worked on some DreamWorks films as well. I looked up the article. It's really interesting. This guy, he has quite a portfolio.
Quite the resume.
And he decided to make a traditionally animated movie about a young postman who was assigned at a German town, a little German town.
A very remote winter village.
Or it might be Scandinavia. I'm not too sure. But he's somewhere.
A very cold, very snowy European village.
And trying to like keep the post business alive, seems to be having trouble until he runs into this little house of a toy maker, a secluded toy maker. And that's pretty much what the teaser kind of ends on, possibly hinting at, well, I mean, it's stated, is that it's kind of like an origin of Santa Claus himself.
Yeah, like this would be a bad comparison because they're by no means are they connected. But imagine if in the Christmas special, Santa Claus is coming to town. The postman from that wasn't just the narrator who kind of bookmarked the beginning and end of the story so much as he actually had a hand in the story of the origin of Santa Claus in a way.
Yeah.
And he had his own desires and reasons tied to the postal service.
Yeah. And I think it was actually going to be kind of cool because like we've had cartoon film, Christmas films.
Yeah.
talking about some of the origins of Christmas and all that stuff. And I would say Arthur Christmas kind of covered it more closely about what it means to send letters to Santa, but we didn't quite get that actual connection going.
Yeah.
And I think KLAUS is going to do that because that's the whole focus of like connecting this toy maker to children around the world. And the Postman is kind of that way of building that bridge.
I love the art style
yes.
of this film because it's a traditionally animated film, but the way it's colors, its shading and all that presented, it's traditionally animated, but it feels like it has more depth, like it's almost 3D, but it's not. Yeah. But I mean that in the best possible way.
It's got like that airbrush quality to
That's exactly an airbrush quality. And the main character, the delivery man, to me, we had mentioned this earlier, I think amongst ourselves, it reminded us of particularly the way he moves, a very early Disney style.
Yes.
I would say it was really like Roger from 101 Dalmatians. It's that kind of animation for a human character. And it is amazing. I'm excited for this. I'm happy it's going to be, by doing it a theatrical release, particularly in Hollywood, that is like one of the requirements to be nominated.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what the article is talking about, where Netflix, I believe, acquired the rights to finance this movie. I believe it was originally teased in 2015. I don't know if it had a distributor at the time, but Netflix has decided to go full-blown with this. They're committing to it, and it's going to be like one of the first originally animated exclusively for Netflix type things. Previously, before that, was some other film I didn't see. But the other film, which you and we both saw this, including our old friend Jared, was Next Gen.
And that wasn't a bad film.
That was not bad. It had its flaws, but the point is Netflix really has confidence in this. And so they kind of want to push this movie to be nominated for Best Animated Feature for 2019.
Well, yeah. Well, even just tying it back to the Disney Plus thing, not just Disney, every other studio and company is leaving Netflix to start their own streaming service.
Yeah.
So Netflix really needs to bank on not just their own original content, but quality content that makes them still viable. And they really seem to have been really pushing it. And I'm not saying this will be an Oscar contender because we haven't seen it yet. We don't know. But visually and everything, this is visually, at least from what we've seen, this looks like quality.
It does. And I'm really curious to see what the final product's going to look like. At the very least, I think it's going to be an entertaining movie.
Oh, yeah.
Will it be a masterpiece? That's still up in the air. We only had that teaser to go off of. But
if you're an animation buff, this might be something to keep your eyes on.
I highly recommend it. So moving on to another article that I found on Cartoon Brew.
About animation.
I know, about more animation.
We are so good at this segue
thing.
What's happening
right? Here? We should get paid for this. I'm sorry, Mark. But no, seriously, speaking of pay, you're going to see what I did there? For those who don't know, a couple of years ago, I would say, Sausage Party came out. It was that Seth Rogen
R-rated animated comedy.
Yeah, it was like an adult comedy about food, trying to not get eaten or something, some adult humor and drug references, things like that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, and I liked it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little too self-aware.
I thought it was a little too self-aware, and I hate, not to be rude, but I hate when the term like adult animated show or movie or special doesn't necessarily mean it's animated for adults in that it's, mature so much as it's just we're going to swear and,
it's like a black comedy.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it's not so much it's, for adults so much as it's just this is not appropriate for children.
Yeah, it's not at all. But
so I was not its biggest fan when I saw it. In fact, my brother took me to see it. He was laughing his ass clean off. And in the car ride home, I was just like, I can't believe you wasted my time.
I can't believe you did that, big buddy. I freaking hate you.
I'm being very harsh on it. There were moments where I did get genuine laughs out of it, but like,
that's fair.
I don't know. I think the idea of its sentient food kind of just wore itself out for me a little quickly.
Yeah. I think for me, my biggest detriment was the fact that it was just too self-aware.
Yeah.
And I wish there was a little bit more wonder to it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about how well the movie is in our eyes.
No.
We're actually talking about that a while ago, shortly after it came out, there was a big dispute over some of the animators that worked on it because I believe the budget for the movie was only like $15 million or something. Definitely no more than $25 million.
Yeah, it was low.
It was very low.
Especially for an animated production.
A 3D well animated.
Oh yeah, I will not dispute some of that aspects of it. The story for me really is
no, the story was the weakest part, but the animation was quality in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those animators worked overtime and they didn't get paid for that.
No, they did not, and that is not cool.
And so the animators got together to sue the company. I don't know if it was distribution or the studio itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally have a conclusion that the overtime pay has been resolved in favor of the animators.
It's a shame it took this long, but I am happy for those people who worked their butts off to make that product.
I really am too. Articles in the description below if you want to read more about it. What I want to talk about specifically about this is what does this mean about the sequel to Sausage Party? Because after the first movie came out, like a few weeks later, they announced that they're going to be working on a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But now that this dispute has been resolved in favor of the animators,
mm-hmm.
Will this encourage or discourage the studio for making a sequel? Because chances are they're going to overtime them again, and that's going to cost them even more money.
Well, hopefully they could just budget appropriately so that won't be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that when it's all said and done, maybe this will just be a learning curve instead of giving them however many million, they double it, they triple it, whatever they do to make sure that the production cost, overtime and all, is accounted for and people get paid.
Yeah.
But
do you think there's still going to be that hint of stigma amongst the workforce?
There could be. I could see them even taking it to a different studio just to wash their hands of it.
That's very likely.
Which happens sometimes. It's really unclear. I think, quite honestly, the window for a sequel to Sausage Party is closing fast as it is.
I think so too. And like I said, even if they do go to a different studio, then people will be going to the old studio saying like, well, there was a legal dispute there. I don't know if we should work with them or not, even though we agree with them or not.
Mm-hmm.
The public might see it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the whole thing became a stigma that should have been like resolved right away, where they should have just paid them or something.
Yeah, it was weird at best.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a pretty open-minded, lenient guy. If something is resolved or proven, then it's like, okay, yeah, let's move forward. Water under the bridge. But as humans tend to go, we don't seem to get over grudges that easily or bad karma or auras.
I think also the thing is we just have, like, short of its announcement way back when even, we have not heard or seen anything really come of it.
Yeah.
We haven't even heard something like a new character is going to be voiced by a new cast member joins to voice a new character for the sequel to Sausage. We haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
I think this dispute was a big factor of why we haven't. Because maybe they wanted to stick with that team, but the team's like, no, we want to get paid for what we did first, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, rightfully so.
And now that it's resolved, we'll see.
That Sausage Party might be in limbo. Who knows?
Who knows? But that's going to do it for our cartoon news. And don't worry, folks, when I originally pitched this Matt Sella podcast, I did say we will talk about games. And originally, I didn't have anything planned because, Mark, you don't play Anthem.
No.
You don't play looter shooters or... No,
I have too much in my life to deal with.
Or Black Ops whatever with the $10, $20 gun thing?
Oh, dear Lord.
I heard something recently where they put in like microtransaction, like it costs like 10 or $20 just to have a gun.
I waste too much money as it is on some really dumb mobile games. I don't have the time to put it on console games. I choose you,
Pikachu, go! But
who told you about my Pokemon Go problem?
You did.
Oh.
You fool! No, I'm kidding. But no, actually, something did come up in the news that I did want to briefly talk about here, and that the Epic Store is surprisingly doing well, despite a lot of backlash for its exclusive rights and some of the policies it lacks compared to Steam. Have you heard about this? Do you want?
Yeah, it's interesting because really, I guess good for them for doing well as this business, but like a lot of it seems like it's almost hard to believe because a lot of the press has been so negative.
It has been. And for full transparency here, yes, I do have the Epic Steam Store installed, but I've yet to buy or download or even open the program. I just don't have time to play games on my computer.
No.
So, but I have been paying attention, and I was thinking to myself when Metro Exodus came out, which I know was supposed to be promised to be on Steam, but then they said, oh, it's going to be a 1-year exclusive for Epic Store. Everyone was up in arms, and I get that, especially when you promise, hey, Steam. And then, what was there was an indie game that was announced. They had like a Kickstarter thing going on. They said it would be on these consoles and you would get a Steam key. But then,
I remember the story. I don't remember which one it was though.
But yeah, the guy came out, the developer of the game said like, oh, we worked a deal with Epic and we're going to do a year, whatever, exclusive on their store. Mm-hmm. People were up in arms about that too, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Well, I think when especially when we live in an age where you Kickstarter stuff and the rewards are promised a certain way.
Yeah.
I do think that there does need to be more transparency in that aspect. So I can see why a lot of people who backed it on the promise that they would be able to get it on their desired platform day one, rightfully so, I think, have a bone to pick there.
Yeah. And sometimes things don't go quite the way you want them to in that regard too. Because like I remember recently hearing that the creator of Axiom Verge, when they did their Kickstarter, one of the promised platforms was the Wii U. And when they
a simple thing happened to, I think,
it was
Ritual of the Night, was it? Or the Castlevania spiritual successor.
Something like that. And yeah. And they said that they were trying to get hard copies on the platforms they promised, but the company they teamed up for to do the Wii U or the whatever, shit went down.
That's a little different than the Castlevania thing.
It's different. Yeah. It's different, but there are some circumstances where they promise on a platform,
and it's just not feasible.
But they were being transparent and like, we're trying to work with this company. Things didn't happen. And the fact that the Wii U is mad dated now, there's almost like no point of putting it on there, but they were being transparent. Yeah. Whereas these other companies that have a new game that is coming out and it's going to have a universal release date-ish, originally promised, it's going to be on PS4, Xbox One, and Steam, PC. But then they're like, it's going to be on PC, it's going to be Epic Store exclusive. And people are like, what the hell? I backed it or pre-ordered it for Steam and what the hell? So moving on from that, a lot of people had negativity backlash about it. And people were saying like, oh, well, let's just boycott Epic Store or this game or whatever. And companies have come out and released sales and said like, well, actually, we sold like almost 20 million copies or whatever. We sold a lot more than we expected on Steam Store. And
well, some of that I think has to do with like on Steam, like there's not that on the Epic Game Store right now, there is very little there. So there is a much better chance, and indie developers have talked about this, I guess, like especially with like the Switch eShop in its early days.
Yeah.
You have a better chance of being noticed on an Epic storefront than you do the Steam storefront that just is loaded with stuff. Like,
oh God, yeah.
It's almost impossible. So like I could in a way I could see why they would do better just because it's presented right there to people's faces. Even if you don't know about a certain game that's coming out, if it's on the Epic store, just because of how much smaller the library is, you will find it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause I mean like that's a really good point you brought up there because Steam has its share of problems. I mean, there's a lot of asset.
It has had its own controversy in and of itself recently.
And there's just so much crap on there that you can't find anything. It's like going on Google Play.
And I say that as a happy Steam user.
Yes. No, I wholeheartedly agree. Neither company is in the green light right now of like good intent. There's share problem. My only issue as far as like Epic Store has been is like they don't have the same kind of policy that Steam has right now. Mm-hmm. And some of them seem like pretty basic policies you should have, yet you don't have it right now.
Well, some of it's even function. Like I don't think they have a shopping cart. I almost don't know how in this day and age you launch a digital store without some of those features. It just almost sounds
Yeah, there's
archaic.
No, very much. There's no wish list. There's no return policy or like a couple of little things like that. Communication, PR.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm only spitballing here. I saw a chart a while ago, but they're slowly adding them, I'm guessing.
And good on them for adding them, I guess. It just seems like it's a very odd way to launch a service.
Yeah, I feel like you should have the fundamentals there on the get-go. But yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point. And also tying into that, the CEO or the guy behind the Epic Store said like, oh, we're not going to do what Steam does and just accept any game to be on a platform. We want to make sure that they're good, completed games. And then we'll put them on.
Which is something a lot of PC users have been asking for a good while.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's weird. It's like both these stores have the good qualities and bad qualities.
It's almost like there's no perfect solution.
No, there's no perfect solution. And from what a lot of YouTubers that I watch say a very good thing. Like when Epic Store first came out, we were all happy about it because we want Steam to have competition because they become so complacent in their qualities. And
it's the detriment of a monopoly. When there's competition, in order for you to stand out and for you to be successful, you have to be the best you can be as a service, as a provider, and as a creator of content.
Exactly.
You can't rest on your laurels, so to speak.
And a lot of people are saying, Steam, all you have to do is just shift the revenue prices more in favor of the studios, and more people will be comfortable with your platform. I think there's more to it than just that.
There always is. There's no such thing as an easy fix.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing as easy fix. But I want Epic Store, to be honest, I want Epic Store to do well. I want them to update their policies, make it more similar to Steam so people are more comfortable purchasing things from them. Privacy and all that, there was some controversy about that as well.
Yes.
But luckily for me, I don't use Epic Store or Steam much these days anyway, so I'm in the minority there where I don't really care, but I do care upon my other Steam users. Yeah, no, Epic Store is doing well. It's selling games, and kind of like what you said, because there's not much shovelware or asset flips on there, their games could get noticed more, and so they're able to get that revenue pretty solid. So, and the last thing I'll talk about this is the guy behind the Epic Store said, like, actually, we're not going to be doing exclusives that much longer, because right now we just wanted to get some of the big titles on there so you can look at us and say, okay, this is a viable market that we can purchase games and download on. And then at that point, we're going to start just hosting games.
If they make good on that promise, I think that's great. I do think then, because then I do want it to be purely just which of these services is providing me on their own merit the best product.
Yes.
Which I think is at its core, I think that's what every gamer wants.
I agree.
I think nobody wants the stuff going on with Steam that's an issue. Nobody wants the stuff that's going on with Epic Store as an issue. We all want what we all thought at the beginning of all this, where it's just competition in the marketplace will breed the best results for us, the consumer.
I 100% agree with that. And I think the thing that bothered me about the whole approach of exclusiveness that they were doing is I don't mind there being exclusives. Hell, that's what Sony,
especially as coming from console backgrounds, we are very much used to that.
I'm still a Sony guy. I'm all about that stuff, and I love.
And you love your Switch.
Yeah, I love the Switch. I like games on Nintendo. I'm okay with that. The problem that I had with their exclusive approach is that they were taking games that were in the middle of being developed already, and suddenly acquiring them, saying like, "Oh, you'll be exclusive on this in some manner or form." Restricted not to be on this other platform. I'd be okay with their exclusive approach if they went to a studio, said like, hey, do you have like a project in mind, not yet publicly announced or anything like that? We want to finance this and have this exclusive.
Yeah, like if at E3 we found out right off the bat a new game's announced and it's exclusive to the Epic Store.
Yes.
That's fine.
I'm okay with that.
I think for a lot of people, it was just the fact that this was promised as a non-exclusive title, even if they are just timed exclusives.
Yes.
It does change the narrative of what people agreed and signed up for, especially if they were Kickstarters and helped finance some of these projects.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm happy to hear that they're going to stop pushing for that kind of exclusives. I don't know if they're going to drop exclusives altogether.
Yeah. Just maybe they won't be as aggressive.
But if they are going to do exclusives, exactly what I said. Look at a studio that has not even announced anything yet. Maybe they have a pitch. They come to you saying like, hey, we want to make this. and maybe if we work a deal with you, we'll exclusively put this on the Epic Store and announce at E3 or whatever, PAX, say, hey, here's a new game. It's going to be on the Epic Store. Cool. Good on you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But like I said, with the Kickstarter, where it's like, oh, all these platforms, even Steam. Oh, never mind on Steam. It's going to be exclusive on Epic Store for a year, and then we'll consider Steam. It's like, no, then it's like, it's just poor consumer relations, things like that. All right, folks. Well, we're kind of nearing the end of this podcast here, but before we move on to that, we're just going to take a quick short break. And if you're listening on YouTube, this is not live, and listening on Spotify, this is not live. So the short break will be very, very short. We'll be right back right after this jingle. See, I told you it'd be a very short break, Mark.
Oh, so fast. I didn't even realize we were done. The break's over?
Yeah, no, it was very quick. And as Alan Tudyk would say, had to go drain the sea monster.
It's going to be really weird hearing that come out of Iago.
I know, right? It's going to be so bizarre. But, so those were some of the main topics we were talking about. And I figured, you know what? Let's get a little more casual over the last 10, 15 minutes of the podcast and go into a segment I like to call What You Doing? Where we talk about what have we been watching or playing. Doesn't that sound fun, Mike?
It does.
Let's get a little personal here. So, for those who are wondering, what have I been watching? Well, unfortunately, I am not watching much movies or really anything at all. I will be checking out Shazam next week. Possibly doing, I know, it's so exciting, Mark. Might be doing a spoiler review for that. I'm actually super excited for Shazam. But for those who are wondering, what have I been watching? Well, for one thing, I like to give a shout out to this YouTube channel that I've been watching called Legal Eagle. Have you heard of it, Mark?
No, caca.
Caca indeed. It's actually kind of cool. I stumbled upon it like a couple weeks ago. It's about a lawyer from New York who does reaction videos to various movies and TV shows, and including games, sort of. And it's actually kind of fun. It's not really a humorous comedy series of videos, but it's more like educational in a way. It's like, how lawfully accurate are some of these fictional movies?
Like the trial in Wind in the Willows.
Kind of, yeah. But like one of the first videos I really got on board with was he did a lawyer's reacts to the Bee movie.
Oh.
And that was actually kind of fun to watch. I even watched it with an old friend of mine. And it was very entertaining just to see, like, you technically can't sue the entire human race or anything like that. It's like you actually need like a group of company or people, like a whole bunch of like legal shit, like things like you probably would not think about. And he kind of covers in like, yeah, this makes sense. How is this relevant? Also, you brought a bear into court. You can't do that. It's like
that bear was a key witness,
right? You're endangering everybody. And a cool thing that I learned actually from the Bee movie one is that apparently you're not allowed to approach the jury. That's invading personal space. You actually have to stay at your station.
But they do it all the time on TV.
I know. And he points that out too, saying like lawfully, you're not allowed to do that.
That makes sense when I guess when you kind of look at, I guess, court shows or court hearings that you see on that are actual, you know, like trials on TV, not staged, you know, shows, but like, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like tiny little things out there that he points out, and it's really good. I recommend it, especially if you're like remotely interested in that. And it's kind of funny to see him like go into things you wouldn't expect him to go into. Like he did an Ace Attorney.
Oh, the Phoenix Wright?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if it was a TV series or a mini series, but he did the first episode. And I guess, and I don't know anything about Phoenix Wright, but I guess in that show, Phoenix Wright was like, I just got my badge and I'm going to do my first case. And the lawyer's like, okay, I know this is kind of a pseudo-American Japanese thing, and I'm only a New York lawyer, know all that. So I'm going to apply some of the American things like that. There's no badge. And you can't just go straight into your court and then defend a childhood friend or something because that's a conflict of interest type
thing.
Do
you have a lawyer badge?
Yes.
It's
right there.
See that? Okay. I'm inclined to
I know what I'm saying, Mark.
Okay.
I'm kidding. But it's just fun, like little things like that, like things you normally would not think about. And he's like, "Oh yeah, court trials, they don't happen this fast as they do." It's just a fun.
No, anybody who's ever watched a high-profile court case, you know, on the national level knows the courts do not move that fast.
They are not fast at all. So that's pretty much what I've been watching, and I highly recommend you check it out. Legal Eagle on YouTube.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself on the lawyerings. He even did Liar Liar. I watched Jurassic Park, which if you're not really into like the court thing so much, I recommend the Jurassic Park one because he actually talks about like the negligence of
liability,
and account of murder. Or if you really want to have some fun, watch the Batman Joker from the Dark Knight and see who's more accountable for like life sentences for causing crime.
Oh, I bet that's a trip.
You might be surprised at the result. It's great.
Oh.
So that's what I've been watching. Mark, what have you been watching?
Oh, God, what have I been watching? What have I been watching?
What you been doing?
I've been sitting there looking at my Switch, waiting for Cuphead to come out. Because you know what? I need that beautifully animated little masterpiece in my life wherever I go.
Dude, for sure. I think it's coming out mid next month.
I'm all over it.
By the time this recording comes out, it'll probably be April already.
I'm over it like ink and paint on a cell.
Yeah, I already pre-purchased it, which I normally don't do on Nintendo, but for that one, I'll make the exception.
Oh, well, in this case in particular, too, you know the quality you're getting.
Yes.
Like, it's Cuphead. Come on, Cuphead.
My goodness, yeah. So, haven't been watching anything, really?
Oh, God, I've been bouncing back and forth. Really? I have been watching, and how much to say? It's really tough to say. Oh, I have been watching One Punch Man season 1, the anime.
Yeah. The second season should be coming out soon.
Second season's coming out. Sadly, it is not animated by Madhouse Studios.
Oh.
And it kind of shows.
Oh, man.
It's not necessarily bad by anime standards, but like One Punch Man season 1, there's some animation in that is amazing.
I've heard, like a lot of art stations I follow reference some of the rough animations from that show.
Oh, it's great. And the camera angles too. Amazing. But I want to be excited for that. And also just keeping it on the anime train, they're doing a second season, a season reboot of the anime Fruits Basket, which was really big way back when.
I remember watching the first half of the show.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where it ended early because I think it caught up with the manga, and then the ending was completely different.
Yeah, it's one of those.
So it didn't quite... It was a very good series, but it didn't really satisfy for the hardcore fans. And there was a huge campaign effort. People sent in 1,000 paper cranes to the studios being like, can we please have this either a season 2 or done properly? But now that the manga has been long done and everything, they're just starting it from the ground up again. New studio, new cast and everything. And it's just going to tell the story, as it should have been. And I'm very excited to see that as someone who remembers that in a lot of the earlier days of when anime was kind of still young in America.
It was. Do you know if Funimation still has the rights to do the dub?
Funimation, I believe, has the exclusive rights to it flat out.
Oh, there you go. Maybe they'll bring back some of the actors.
They might have been somewhat of a joint partner in financing it.
I could see that. I actually think I did see promotions for that.
Because I actually think if you're in some theaters, they're actually a day before it's released, you can either watch it dubbed or sub, but like the first 3 episodes will be shown in theaters. Like it's one of those Fathom event kind of things.
Interesting. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next part of this segment, what you playing? Well, I have been playing Witcher 3.
Yeah, you have.
And I've been playing it for quite a while. It was actually a game lent to me by an old coworker.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. I finally started playing it like a month or 2 ago.
And you're still not done, you rookie?
No, I'm not. I've been doing a lot of the side quests. I've been trying to grind because that's the kind of player I am. I like to level up in RPG-like games.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite work exactly like that, where you can go out, fight monsters, level up your character. It all comes down to missions and side quests that you complete or versus main story. And my God, it's a fun, great game. I'm terrible at the combat, but there's just so much content. I was surprised. Like I'm just leaving Novigrad from Velen. And I think that's like one of the first regions you visit after White Orchard.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I have time to complete this because I'm juggling other projects, things like that. It's like I might have to return this game to my friend and just get the complete edition and beat it later. It's a fun game, but my God, is it a lot of content. I wish a lot of other Western studios would take light with that and say like, we should be up to CD Projekt Red standards, man. But sadly, it feels like games are too short and not full of content.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been playing. What about you, Mark? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been not playing Cuphead on the Switch because that hasn't come out yet, like we said.
There you go.
I've been trying to get time to buy and try Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, I have that, and I want to play it, but damn you, Witcher 3.
Which feels weird because I'm someone who I've never played any of the Devil May Cry games. So I'm really wondering if it's a good jumping in point even. I've tried to avoid looking at videos talking about that because inevitably there's spoilers.
I guess. I mean, I watched a couple videos and they didn't really spoil the story. And honestly, Devil May Cry is not about the story.
No, I've heard it's just a lot of it, especially it's a lot about just having like crazy fun.
Yeah, it's
like I'm well aware of
unlike Kingdom Hearts.
but Matt.
But no, I mean, if I were to recommend playing a game before Devil May Cry 5, it's probably Devil May Cry 3, then 4, and then play 5.
Okay.
Because 3 is a good starting point of where the series kind of hit its
stride.
4 is kind of like expansion on that, but trying to take it into more vast approach to it, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And I think 5 will be like the good middle ground between the 3. I'm guessing.
Cool.
I'm guessing. So, no, I'm looking forward to playing Devil May Cry 5. Just got to get that damn Witcher to finish his goddamn story first. Then I'll play it.
Cool.
But yeah, no, Devil May Cry 5. Here's hoping. And I was worried about the microtransactions, but luckily.
Yeah, I hear they're not as intrusive as people maybe had feared.
Most people are saying it's not intrusive at all and just feels like they were put in there for the hell of it.
Oh, that's weird.
So it's like, it's even weirder. It's like, why is this even here? It's not required. You can acquire orbs and shit. Perfectly fine. But I don't know. But luckily, it doesn't seem like to impact the industry that much. I am still guilty buying the game anyway because of that, because I don't want to support that kind of thing in single player games, but that's a whole other topic. So that's what you've been playing or prepping to play?
I've been prepping to play that, and I have been playing Monster Hunter World on PC. That's been very fun and very interesting.
Are you replaying it or starting anew?
I'm starting it. I didn't buy it for PlayStation, so this is my first outing of it on the PC.
Nice. Is it like the complete edition where you get like all the additional content?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Sometimes I like to wait for that, but at the same time, if I want to support Studio, I want to buy the first edition right away.
Yeah.
That's always the caveat when it comes to those things. So
but yeah, very exciting. Another Capcom game. So there you go.
There you go. Come on, Capcom. Don't Konami yourself. Make a good single player game.
Yeah.
Well, I think that will do it for this episode 2 of the Matt Sella podcast. Is anything else to wrap up here? I can't think of anything.
Nope.
The only thing I can say is that expect a Shazam podcast movie review from yours truly, possibly next week from now. I will be talking about whether if I like the Zachary Levi as the big Shazam dude.
Yeah, Flynn Rider.
Flynn Rider. I'm going to be looking for that now.
Just call
Where's my satchel?
It's
a bad horse.
That'd be an interesting trailer mashup.
That's where he calls
Maximus.
Mark Strong's character.
He's a bad horse.
He's a bad horse. It's like punching you around. I don't know. So I'm going to be doing that. Any plugs you want to do, Mark, or you're just going through the wind?
I'm just going through the wind.
Looking forward to that Disney Plus service.
I guess I am.
Well, definitely let us know what's going on with that, Mark.
Yeah.
We were actually told, if I can like include you in here real quick before we wrap up here, we were told that DuckTales will be returning next month in April, late April or May.
It's sooner than you think, especially with how weird the hiatus has been.
Yeah, because we were told that the To the Moon one that we did together, that was like a special.
Yeah, you can call that a special. On Wikipedia, it's listed as episode number whatever, and DuckTales has had a weird thing with which episodes are numbered what. I'm calling that episode whatever it is, okay?
Right, it's very bizarre.
I need some clarity.
But hopefully that will return soon. I may or may not be doing a review with you, Mark, regarding, what was it? She-Ra?
She-Ra, yeah.
Because I remember doing a review for that a while ago, and I actually enjoyed the show for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I am quite curious to see where it's going to go next, concerning all things. And I'm looking towards Netflix as much as I can to see if there's any series or whatnot I should be checking out.
Yeah, have you tried Umbrella Academy yet?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We didn't talk about that. Yes, I did finally watch that. And did you ever come to a conclusion? Because I remember last time you said you were kind of not sure because you didn't finish it or something.
I liked it a lot. I liked it. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's the... Oh, well, Matt, how rude of you.
Apparently that can pick... Actually, no, I clean up the audio. It might not pick it up. But it might pick up this.
Well, I'm not picking that up. You just threw it over there.
No, the mic will pick it up.
I really liked Umbrella Academy. From my understanding is it did deviate from the comics in a lot of areas. But I don't know. I'm very interested in seeing where it goes with season 2. That's where it's really going to hinge for me.
I think so, too. And I think it's been popular enough that it's going to get a season 2.
Uh-huh.
And it's a straight-up Netflix thing. And they're trying to create their own shared universe or whatever. I don't know if it's a shared universe, but it's definitely a comic universe.
Yeah, they I believe they signed a big deal with a big comic book creator.
Yeah, it wasn't Dark Horse, but it was something that like had Kick-Ass and Kingsman in there or something.
Yeah, it was by that author, yeah.
Something by that author. So you're gonna get that. Yeah, no, I remember watching it and it was a lot epic than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I like the kid. I forget the kid's name.
Oh, he's great.
11?
Yeah.
Was it? Not 11. I forget. The guy who...
Was he 5?
5. That's
Yeah.
it. He was 5. He didn't have an actual name.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the dynamic of the characters was really interesting. Some of it was a bit weird for my taste.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Ellen Page's character was kind of whatever. But the whole setup of like the white violin thing, I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend it. It's a pretty fun watch. Don't take it too seriously.
No, I think that's right off the bat, yeah.
But I think it's a really well done superhero-esque movie.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I'm quite curious to see where the other weirdly born people are at. Because apparently there's 40 of them, but we follow like 8 or 9 of them.
That's what has a lot of possibility for some interesting stuff for me, yeah.
So it's a vast universe, and anything can happen.
Yeah, who knows?
All right, folks. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining us today on the Matt Sella Podcast #2 show. If you wish to support me, I would greatly appreciate it if you can go to Matt Sella. Sorry, what am I saying here? Patreon.com/Matt Sella. You could donate as little as $1 a month to really help me out here. I do art, I do animation, and I also like to do podcasts where I talk about the entertainment industry, things like movies, video games, what have you. And that's pretty much my plug here. If you made it this far, please subscribe. Leave a comment of whatever we talked about in the comment section below. And yeah, be sure to check out the descriptions for some of the articles and trailers that we talked about on the show. With that being said, Mark, any last words you want to say to our viewers?
Sayonara.
Thank you all for tuning in.